Andrew Yang. What the f is wrong with this guy? He done fell down the tree of corporate bullshit and hit every limb.
Powering the 10% of extremes on both sides.
But you're going to have to come up with policy
really
positions.
Negative results.
Right,
so
but
we
Andrew,
just need a better system.
Yeah, but Andrew, you're going to have policy positions at some point. How does the Forward Party feel about Roe versus Wade? Should it have been overturned?
Well, I personally think that women's reproductive rights are fundamental human rights. But the Forward Party has not left or right, but forward stance on even the most divisive and contentious issues.
Well, what does that mean? Don't you have to take a position on something? Don't you have to take a position on something? You can't just say, well, this is a hot button issue, so I'm not going to take a position on it. You know, if you want to run the country, you're going to have to make some hard decisions, Andrew.
Again, the Forward Party is about that common sense consensus majority view, which is very clear on abortion. It's clear.
What about guns? What about assault weapons?
On climate change. It's actually clear on just about every issue under the sun.
Should 18-year-olds be able to buy AR-15s?
Because of the nature of our system.
Should 18-year-olds be able to buy AR-15s?
Again, the common sense consensus majority is that there should be some rules around background checks and access to firearms. But we're not getting any of these things, Jim, because the two-party system does not need to deliver.
But it doesn't sound like you're taking any hard positions. It sounds like you're
trade power.
It sounds like you're sort of a fill-in-the-blank party. If somebody wants a party with no clear policy positions, you're it. But unfortunately, in the real world, you have to take a position on something.
Well, we're for the common sense consensus view on guns, abortion, climate change, but we're not getting a common sense consensus
what are those
result
positions?
on any of those things, Jim. And
those
Americans
are just sort of fuzzy, but those are fuzzy, nebulous. It sounds like you came up with something in a focus group. Common sense, middle of the ground. That sounds wonderful. That sounds great. But at the end of the day, don't you have to take a position on something?
No, you don't. I'm Andrew Yang. I'm a fake nice guy. I'm really a scumbag. I'm like a used car salesman. Sells you a car without an engine. But it was really nice when I did it. I'm the guy that empties out your mom's bank account. But said sorry when I did it. Sorry, lady. I send her a Christmas card every Christmas. Andrew Yang is an empty suit. This is what he is. That's what he is, and this party is horrible. He got dressed down by Acosta. Come on, Johnson. Talk about no preparation. I'm saying, a common sense consensus majority. What the is that? Andrew Yang, I want you to come on my show. Come on my show, Johnson. Come back to Jamaica with this bullshit. A common sense consensus majority. Bro. What you got, Johnson? Do you got my money or not? All right? Run your pockets. This guy, a common sense consensus majority of reasonable Americans. Once upon a time it was reasonable to have slaves. Once upon a time it was reasonable to backhand your wife if she talked too much. I had to reset her. Had to reboot the system. That was common sense. That was a common sense majority. What does your party stand for? And the worst part about Andrew Yang in this Forward Party is he's framing it. His whole thing that undergirds his entire concept of this party is this fallacy that the Democratic Party is leaning to the extremes. You're saying that Joe Biden is caving into the extremes are leading the party? Really? Is that what's happening, Johnson? The only extremes leading the parties would be the Republican Party with Donald Trump. But that's extreme because of his rhetoric. A lot of his policies, pretty run-of-the-mill, Democrat and Republican shit. Yeah, a lot of Trump policies, very Republican. A lot of them, Ronald Reagan would have been very happy with. A lot of them, Biden was so happy with, he never reversed them. All these assholes are going to Bill Maher's show with this woke stuff, cancel culture stuff. They all have the same talking points. America's too far left, the radical extremists. He's one step away from blaming BLM, the woke and the wokes. That's silly police reform bullshit about defunding the police. Yeah, if they were killing Asians in the streets like they're killing blacks in the streets, you wouldn't be able to walk down the street with that type of attitude like we just being radical. You know what? And also, guys, it's a little bit of racism here about Andrew Yang because Andrew Yang tries to portray this stereotypical Asian-like persona, this bullshit that a lot of Asians don't like, where he tries to pretend to be this meek, humble, down-to-earth, nice guy, when in reality he's a backstabbing son of a bitch. Is exactly what it's portraying here. I mean, here he seems very complicit, right? He seems very complicit and very slippery. The opposite of humble, the opposite of being meek, reasonable, or whatever he's trying to project. He's leaning all the way forward into tropes about Asians in order to bamboozle good people out of their money to boost up his party to make a name for himself because his 5 minutes of fun was done. In the casualty of it, he's willing to decapitate the actual progressive movement in order to get his own way. So this is not something you should take lightly if you give a shit about changing things in America. Because people like Andrew Yang are running around peddling the notion that the Democrats are too radical. The Democrats already are a moderate party. Republicans, they don't want any gun laws. Democrats do want gun laws. What are you trying to do? What's radical? What's your moderate stance? Oh, we just want to be reasonable about the guns. So what are you going to say? Shoot everybody on a Tuesday, but no guns on Thursday? Even you are pro-choice or you're pro-life. Cut the shit. Cut the shit. Either you're interested in giving small business loans to African Americans who have been disenfranchised in this country for 300 years, or you don't. But we want to be reasonable with common sense consensus. From who? From what people? You know, sometimes it requires a radical approach in order to make changes that actually are effective. And part of the reason why Joe Biden's policies don't do shit for us is because they are too moderate. Only in a fake, suspended animation type society, full of bullshit narratives, Hollywood, TV, movies, bullshit. This plastic America, this ain't a real America. Andrew Yang, that ain't how he really is. He ain't that guy. That's bullshit. He's acting. He's an actor. Guy served up more word salad than a farmer's market on steroids. This is horrible. People need to start calling this out. Now, luckily, someone did call it out. Somebody got to this before I got to it. Now, Krystal Ball was talking about this on Breaking Points, and she had a couple things to say, and...
Well, guys, Andrew Yang has now officially launched his new Forward Party, and listen, I'll just be blunt, definitely not my cup of tea. His partners are former Republican Governor Christine Todd Whitman, who has spent her time post-public service running a lobbying outfit, serving on various corporate boards, and David Jolly, he's a former Republican congressman who has also spent his time post-public service cashing in through lobbying with a seeming specialty in ghoulish healthcare companies. Hardly the team that I would want for cleaning up the rank corruption that has made it so our nation's electeds respond only to donors and to big business. Now, their analysis at the Forward Party of the problems with the two-party system is also off base, in my opinion. In their announcement op-ed, they write, quote, "The United States badly needs a new political party, one that reflects the moderate common sense majority. Today's outdated parties have failed by catering to the fringes. As a result, most Americans feel they are not represented." Super standard, no labels, third way stuff. The problem for the Democratic Party, though, in reality, isn't that they go too far catering to radical extremes. It's that they make excuses for failing to deliver on the incredibly basic and insanely popular shit that they routinely promise voters.
And I agree. So, Krystal, you mean to tell me that Andrew Yang has teamed up with Republicans in order to lure Democrats to a Republican Party that is more inviting, more hospitable, more tongue-in-cheek than the standard issue Republican Party? Is that what you're trying to tell me? That's what it looks like. Looks like Andrew Yang here is selling snake oil. He's teamed up with a bunch of Republicans to play footsie with more Republicans. I wonder who's going to be funding Andrew Yang. And you know what, guys? Another thing about this that pisses me off, and I'll say it. Andrew Yang played on the insecurities and the financial hardships of Generation X and millennials and some Generation Zs in order to get his shit right. You understand what I'm saying? He played on your financial hardships and waved in front of you this UBI, right? That's how he got some of you. It's like one person today was like, Tim, is he still supporting UBI? Because if he's still supporting UBI, listen. Listen, dog. It doesn't matter what he supports. He just used that as a way to lure you, a way to get your attention to him. When I listen to Andrew Yang talk, when I listen to what he's done, when I look at the trajectory, when I look at his body of work in the political landscape, well, you know what I see? I see him just the same as I see cute women on Instagram or on TikTok shaking their ass. That's all he's doing. He is shaking his political ass on the mainstream stage in order to get likes. That's all he's doing. And if he shakes it just right, maybe he'll get a plane trip or two. He'll get a fly out. But here's the problem. There's nothing in it for you or for me. Nothing in it for you or me. Zero. So, Andrew Yang is the epitome of a snake oil salesman. And it's just that simple. Yeah, I remember when he came on my show, he was talking about truck drivers who are going to be out of work because of automation. Remember that? What he did was he played on the sincerity of some people who would listen to something like that. At the end of the day, he doesn't stand for anything. But he was using what he knew would touch the hearts and minds and the pockets. Some of you with UBI, others with the automation, people losing their jobs. He knew that those issues you would gravitate to those. For him to be able to really come with what he was really coming with was a bunch of Republican money and mediocre talking points, trying to throw cold water, a cold blanket on radicalism, which is the only way we're going to get real change in this country. Andrew Yang has made it. His job now is to make sure you don't. And that's how I see it. For more rants like this, subscribe to this YouTube channel.